So literally 4 days ago, I made my first Metroid-related video in many, many months since the delay of Metroid Prime 4, and I commented and joked about how long it had been because there really hasn't been a reason to talk about Metroid, and here we are with another Metroid rumor out of nowhere. This is just completely insane, but hey, I'm not going to complain because what this rumor is and what this news is potentially the greatest thing and something we've all been waiting for frickin' ever at this point. So again, I'm not going to complain. It's just a pretty funny coincidence. What we're talking about today is crazy. I'm sure a lot of you guys know, late last night, this big story blew up that all of a sudden Best Buy, another retailer, is leaking all of this information about all of these games coming to Nintendo Switch, including the Big Daddy Metroid Prime Trilogy. That's, of course, the big Metroid thing that's really crazy that we're talking about, and I'm very, very excited about. But this thing is nuts, you guys. There's kind of a lot to unpack with what's going on here, so we need to dive into this. What's crazy is the two other games that are supposedly leaked alongside of Metroid Prime Trilogy. And obviously the disclaimer of none of this is officially fact. These are just leaks that could turn out to be true or not true or what have you, and I am absolutely going to get into that. It's a big part of my conversation today. But beyond Metroid Prime Trilogy, also Persona 5 for the Nintendo Switch had been leaked, apparently, which had been talked about for a long time. I'm not really a Persona guy. That's not really big news to me, but I do know that it's a big deal for a lot of other gamers. So apparently it's confirmation of Persona 5. And then The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Nintendo Switch. Like, wait a minute, what's going on? We know Link's Awakening is coming because Nintendo did a complete remake of that game, but A Link to the Past? What's going on with that? Yeah, 3 very big and very high-profile games randomly showed up on Best Buy's database. So this is something that seemed to be coming from Wario64 on Twitter. He's a pretty well-known person on Twitter. His account has been known for having a lot of inside information and a lot of scoops and whatnot in the past, and he put out this tweet that basically states, yeah, Best Buy has leaked all sorts of stuff, and the Metroid Prime Trilogy is one of them, and holy freaking cow. And he also includes this screenshot of some mobile version. It's clearly from a mobile phone. This is not like a screenshot of Best Buy's actual computer database, but something from a mobile phone that seems to just list Metroid Prime Trilogy for the Nintendo Switch. And this had everyone buzzing, everyone freaking out. Metroid Prime Trilogy was even trending on Twitter, you guys. That's insane. I mean, I tweeted about it. I thought it was so funny. It feels like such a moral victory to see something like that happen, even before anything's been confirmed. And yeah, so that's what happened. And that, alongside of the other information about the other two games, really just had everyone freaking out, including myself. So it's even made its way to some of the bigger sites. IGN wrote a great and super thorough article about it that I'm going to link below, and I highly recommend that you check it out. But that's where this whole thing started, man. Metroid Prime Trilogy coming to Switch. So I have so much to say about this whole thing. Obviously, mostly focused on the Metroid Prime Trilogy because that's what has me the most interested and the most invested in. The last, year and a half of my life has been invested in waiting for Metroid Prime 4 and also talking about the Metroid Prime Trilogy because I've believed in it for so long, well before it even became this huge conversation, really in the back half of last year in 2018, where really people started to get excited for it. People felt like it made more and more sense. I think that the longer we were going without seeing or hearing about Metroid Prime 4, the more people started to realize, hey, maybe the trilogy makes sense because apparently Metroid Prime 4 is very, very far off. And then some pretty substantiated information from people who very much would be in the know started to kind of make rounds about, hey, we know that the Metroid Prime trilogy is being made behind the scenes, and it is planned on being released and yada yada. And then, as we all know, the delay of Metroid Prime 4 really kind of was a big shakeup, and a lot of people have been wondering, and I kind of go along with this for the most part, that maybe the delay of Metroid Prime 4 is what impacted Nintendo's willingness to release or confirm the Metroid Prime trilogy. Now here we are, and it's early April with all of this stuff coming out, and there has been some talk about an April Nintendo Direct. I think a lot of us expect that we might get one more Nintendo Direct from Nintendo before E3, which is only 2.5 months away, you guys, which is obviously very, very exciting. I tend to think that another Direct makes a lot of sense. April seems like a fine time to do it because you don't want to do it too close to E3. So April, I mean, this just does make sense. And so now comes all this information leaking the Metroid Prime trilogy, as well as the other two games, Persona and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And it's like, well, this is certainly all lining up in such a way that could make sense. But we have to remember a few things. There's no Nintendo Direct confirmed yet, even though it makes sense. Remember, we all thought one was going to happen in January, and it didn't. We had to wait until February to actually get that Nintendo Direct this year. So while we can suspect and maybe even expect a Nintendo Direct this month, nothing is real in this kind of situation until it's actually real, until Nintendo confirms it, until we're actually sitting in front of a computer screen watching a Nintendo Direct. But here's where things get really, really tricky, you guys. And I don't want to call myself a downer because I'm not trying to be a downer, and I don't think it's a down thing to say, but I am trying to be a bit realistic here. I'm pumped for this news. This news has me excited for so many reasons. Obviously, because I love the Prime Trilogy. I love Metroid in general. It's my favorite franchise. And I've believed in the Prime Trilogy, and I even still believe in the Prime Trilogy. However, what we have to consider is the fact that this information, even if it's coming from a pretty reputable source, it's not necessarily the most believable just based off of what we've seen, right? I mean, all we're looking at is a screenshot with some text on it. Again, this is no comment on the people who are breaking this news. It is literally just a comment on the image itself, which we don't even know how it got to this person or these people who shared it. Let's look at that image again. What are we looking at here? It's text on a screen, man, and it's a mobile image of some kind. Would Best Buy's internal employee-only website thing have like a mobile site? Maybe, because a lot of Best Buy employees use like iPads and stuff, but also maybe not. And even if they do, it's literally, there's nothing fancy going on here. I mean, have you guys seen the kind of things that people can fake on the internet, especially in the gaming space? Nintendo NX controllers and Rayman showing up in Super Smash Bros. I mean, people can do anything, so why couldn't screenshots like this be completely fake and fabricated? I mean, you know, we've seen a lot of evidence that when a retailer lists stuff early that seems like a leak, it can be true. IGN brought it up in their same article. There's been plenty of times where that's happened before, like Rage 2 and Gears of War 5 with Walmart. And so, yeah, maybe this is just another one of those legit leaks from a huge retailer. Best Buy is a massive retailer that is leaking some confirmed games. But when I look at this screenshot for the Metroid Prime Trilogy, again, the game that I'm most concerned with here out of all this news, it's like, okay, it seems pretty legit in a lot of ways. A lot of people are talking about it like it could be true. But man, this could be fake. I mean, let's go back to the Grinch leaks from Super Smash Bros., man. I mean, so many people thought that was legit just because of an image that they saw, and it turned out the image was fake. And again, that image had characters and colors and all these different things going on in it. This is just words and numbers on a white background screen, you guys. Like, anyone with basic skills could fake this. So it's tough for me to say that this is something we should all just be believing and saying 100%, oh my god, it's happening, and throw out all of our emotions at this, and then just, you know, hope that that becomes true, because we're all going to be pretty devastated if it turns out to not be true. And now, I know it's no fun to think about things that way, because we all want to be excited for this, right? I'm excited for this, because, I mean, I can't even list the reasons in my head anymore about why the Metroid Prime Trilogy makes sense and why I believe it is going to happen. I've just talked about it too many times to do so. But that realistic approach is really important here, you guys. I think it's something that many of us need to consider, you know. And here's the other thing, too. When you look at the screenshot that I pointed out with the Metroid Prime Trilogy stuff, it's very different than the screenshot that was also first shared about Persona 5 on the Switch. If you look at this screenshot here, which, again, I got through a link in IGN's article, which I do, again, recommend that you read. But if you look at this, I mean, while this could also be faked, this screenshot, to me, is a little bit more plausible because it's a real computer screen displaying something real on it. I mean, this looks like this could actually be a Best Buy computer in a store. That more would make sense as far as what image we would see that would show something that maybe I could believe. The Metroid Prime Trilogy one is like, I mean, it's everything I've already said. It's just a mobile image with some text on it. And, you know, they could all be faked, man. I don't put anything by anyone anymore as far as being faked on the internet. There's no reason to just believe something you see like this just because it's there in front of you and you're looking at it with your eyes. That's just not how the internet works anymore. Unfortunately, it's too easy to fake anything. So while even this screenshot of Persona 5 could be faked as well, it just looks a little bit more believable to me than the Metroid Prime Trilogy one. And again, if you follow IGN's article to the link there, they have a bunch of screenshots of this Persona 5 stuff on what looks like a Best Buy computer. I mean, it truly is way more convincing than what we've seen of the Metroid Prime trilogy. Now, the Link to the Past thing, that's interesting in a different way and for different reasons, obviously. I don't really know what to say about that because that could be anything. I guess my guess would be that it's, if there's anything real there, it's probably like just the regular, well-known Super Nintendo A Link to the Past, the original game with no bells and whistles. Basically just a re-release, right? I mean, I'm not going to believe that they're going to be doing a full remake or a crazy new visual treatment to a game that old at the same time that they're doing it to another game. They don't want to undermine one or the other, not to mention the amount of time and resources. I mean, why do it to two games? And it just doesn't make sense for that to be something happening. So I would want to think it's like just the regular game. But the problem is, why would it be showing up in a Best Buy computer, in a retailer's computer? Because if Nintendo was going to re-release the original Link to the Past on the Switch, I think we all know they would just do that digitally for like 10 or 15 bucks. There's no reason for there to be a physical copy of that game. So I'm only just guessing, and I'm guessing off of something that's a rumor and for all we know is not even real anyway, but it is a very interesting situation when it comes to A Link to the Past. Like, and, you know, I started to wonder if maybe they confused Link's Awakening with Link to the Past and something got messed up in their database. But the article I linked basically touches on that, and they say that there's another listing in Best Buy's computers for Link's Awakening specifically. So there's nothing to indicate that they maybe confused these two. It's really weird. I mean, it's exciting to think that it might be real, but I'm not going to lie. If A Link to the Past is coming to the Switch in any way, if there's nothing special about the re-release, whatever they're doing with it, I'm probably not, I wouldn't be interested in it because I already have it on my my Super NES Classic and I have it on my Wii U Virtual Console. Like, I don't really need to buy that game specifically. Maybe it's tied into the Link's Awakening re-release in some way. I don't really know how, like you get it as a bonus or something. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about the A Link to the Past thing because that hasn't been touched on by Nintendo at all. That could be made up completely, just like all this stuff could be made up. Really tough to say, but it's a pretty interesting piece of news coming out of this whole leak. So I think for the most part, that's what I have to say here. A lot of my slant with this whole thing is the fact that it's exciting to see some information about the Metroid Prime trilogy possibly being leaked, but it sure isn't 100%, and it's so easy for something like this to be faked, even though I want to believe it, that I think I needed to really make that the angle of this conversation, you guys. Not to be a downer, I don't want this to be depressing to anyone who's really excited to hear me talk about the Metroid Prime trilogy, but I think it's that I'm just so invested in it happening that I'm being overly cautious with my own feelings and what I'm allowing myself to get invested in, and so that's what I have to share. Like, you know, things that happened back in December that made it seem like Metroid Prime Trilogy was going to happen felt more real to me. Like, even Reggie's stupid t-shirt, that stupid picture with Jeff Keighley where he had that dumb t-shirt on and we all lost our minds for it, myself included, that felt like more of a sign to me than anything. And that's why I want to believe that they did intend to share something on Metroid at the Game Awards, but something changed once they had to make the call to restart development on Metroid Prime 4, including even showing a Metroid Prime Trilogy. So when we come to this, it's like, okay, it sure makes sense. This is about the time I would expect to see it if it was real. And so sure, Best Buy might be leaking this, but also this image could just be so freaking faked, man. People clearly love to put fake stuff like this on the internet and get people excited and talking just to be disappointed when they learn it's fake. I mean, people for some reason like to do that crap. And so I'm just so worried that this is another situation like it that I'm not going 100% in on this leak or this rumor yet, guys. I'm trying to be smart and cautious here, and hopefully this helps you do the same so that if this turns out to be fake, you also weren't that surprised. And maybe you'd seen Rob's video, so you knew that there was a chance it was fake, and then it turned out to be fake. But hey, if it turns out to be real, well, that's going to be the greatest news ever. So let's just hope that that's what happens. Let's hope that we're getting a Nintendo Direct in April, and let's hope that it includes the Metroid Prime trilogy, and for all we know, A Link to the Past, whatever that's happening there, we don't even know what's going on. It's so dumb. So anyway, that's what's going on, guys. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Ro2R Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.